Is the way you dress affecting your verdict? We're going to answer that question a lot more on this episode of the Injury Report. Hey, Meg, tell us what's going on.
Hey, Ken. We got this great looking guy. I mean, obviously not as good looking as you. Just kidding.
Obviously.
You guys are both very good looking and very well dressed, might I add, thanks to the Rod Allen Baker. He's in the house. Yay.
Stylist to the stars.
Stylist to the stars.
Sometimes.
Glad you're
You
here,
guys.
Ron. So, question for you that I just asked, is the way people dress affecting their verdict?
Oh, absolutely.
Tell us.
You know, I mean, as people, we judge. And so one of the things that I've learned is when you walk into a room, before you ever say a word, people have already sized you up. They're already making judgments of whether or not you're going to win. You're successful. You know what you're talking about. They've already made that decision. And so you only have seconds before people, and once they've actually made that decision, you can't really change it. It's always in their head.
That's a huge issue. It's a huge issue.
Absolutely.
And it's something that probably a lot of people don't think enough about, whether it's in court or out of court.
Correct. I mean, when you walk into a room, I think we were talking earlier this week, some people, when they walk into the room, they want all eyes on them. Other people, when they walk into the room, they just kind of want to slide around in the back, you know? And so it's how do you want to walk into the room? And as an attorney like yourself, I mean, you have to make an impact when you walk in. And whatever that is that you want to communicate, because your clothes are going to communicate that before you ever start talking.
Yeah, so true. And we've been doing a lot with you this week while you've been in town. We're so glad to have you in town. And
thank you for having me.
We did some shopping with you as well.
Yes, we did.
And so you've been helping us with the style for today's show. Mm-hmm. And we've been talking a lot about how quickly people make those judgments and what are the things that we want to exude in court. And we were talking about the psychology of it, that there's sort of this happy medium that we need to find. You want to touch on that?
Even the colors, Rod. Emotionally, what do people feel with certain colors?
You bet. The softer colors, obviously, the black and whites, like, you know, we have the darker colors on, that's powerful. You know, Perry Mason used to walk into his show, you know, as an attorney, and that guy just had this presence beyond anybody else in the courtroom, and he would win when he walked in. You said something earlier on today where you've got to own the courtroom. And so how do you do that with your clothes and what you wear? And so your softer colors, your tans, your browns, colors like that are very warm. And yeah, if what you want to communicate is this calming and this warmth and maybe even caring, empathetic, you know, amiable type of approach, you can do that by the colors that you wear. When you're wearing dark, strong colors, blues, grays, blacks, they're gonna communicate something different. And what you have to determine is that what I want to communicate?
So yeah, there's different psychology of it really for the attorney involved versus their client or somebody going to court representing themselves.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and I always not only consult the attorney, but I'm letting them know, listen, for the person that you're representing, you want to make sure. I mean, how many people are in jail and they put them into a suit?
That's right.
Even though they just came out of an orange jumpsuit, right? They dress them up to where they don't look like a criminal sitting in the chair. They look like somebody that got the raw end of the deal, right?
That's so true.
So what should somebody wear? Let's say somebody's going to court and they're watching this and they say, you know, it's just, I am who I am and I wear certain clothes and I don't want to show them anything but me. And, you know, maybe it's a female that wears really tight clothing and their cleavage is out, or it's a guy that they wear dirty clothes every day because that's just who they are, or they wear shorts. I mean, what do they want to convey? Because if they feel like, well, this is me and I'm the one who was injured, really though, it's what people think about you. Do you look desperate for money? Are you a responsible person where if they gave you this money, you'd be responsible with it?
Exactly. I mean, I always say that it's always better to be a little overdressed than a little underdressed. And when you're in court, there's a certain amount of respect, right? For the judge, for the whole proceeding. And, but I like to make sure that the personality comes out. Now, do I want everything showing and all that for a defendant or somebody like that? Probably not, because what that's communicating, you really have to understand, what is your outfit communicating? And is that what you want it to communicate? Because sometimes it can work against you. If you're all hanging out or you're wearing these flashy colors, what is the jury or what is the judge perceiving or judging you of, right? I mean, does it look like you're going to walk out of this court and get in your red Ferrari, or are you going to get in your little Nissan and go home? And that can make a big difference in the settlement.
Sure, without a doubt. And that's what we were talking about with the psychology of it, is if somebody shows up in court and they look too polished, too good, too flashy, that could work against them with what a jury wants to award. They may think, he doesn't need it, she doesn't need it, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And then the exact opposite is true. If somebody comes in, and a lot of times, this goes for attorneys as well. Like I said, they come in and they're not dressed appropriately. They've got, stuff that doesn't fit properly, or it's scuffed shoes.
Just
and they
sloppy.
They look sloppy.
Yeah.
Then they're not going to get enough awarded. And there's sort of this happy medium. And you had a great story about it.
Yeah, actually, that's where I was probably in my 20s. I learned this when I was very young, that an attorney client of mine told me that when he is in the courtroom and the judge is making a decision on the compensation or who gets what in the settlement, he told me that if you don't look very good, the judge might award you the attorney $50,000. If you look like, you're going to jump in your red Ferrari and go down the street, he may go, he does well enough, I'll award him $500,000. When somebody walks in and they are professional and they look to the nines, of that, it's not flashy, it's not trashy,
Right.
but it's like really pro, that guy might be awarded $500,000. He goes, I want to be that guy. So however you dress me, I want you to dress me to communicate that.
You said if somebody's too grungy, they might get 50,000.
Correct.
If they're too flashy, they might get $500,000. You said $500,000 again. I think you meant something else. If they're dressed right down the middle, right in that sweet spot, what did this attorney tell you they might get?
Well, they might get $5 million. So
it makes that much of a difference.
It makes that much of a difference. So again, my client at the time told me, he goes, that's the number I want. I want that $5 million. So dress me accordingly. And that made a huge difference. And I did that for years for him, and it was great.
I mean, that's huge for any attorney to think about that much of a swing in numbers when we're taking our cases to court.
Absolutely. It's so important that people don't realize it, and they just want people to like them for who they are. What does that even mean? There is a psychological factor to it that people don't want to think about, because it goes back to that, well, that's not fair. I was injured. I deserve what I deserve. But there's so many nuances, and that's why it's so important you do hire an attorney, because this attorney will guide you on things like this.
Well, and I tell people the exact same thing. That's why you hire a stylist, because a stylist will actually help you to communicate what it is that you want. And I always tell my clients, tell me exactly what you want the outcome to be, because then I'm going to dress you accordingly. Obviously, part of my book series, the Extraordinarily You book series, is all about the the steps that you take in order to get you to that point, because your passions in life, your personality, the groups, the settings like Courtroom, and then obviously your finances or your resources that are available to accomplish that. Those are all factors, and you need to take those into account when you're making that decision. And it's kind of like when you guys are preparing for court, you're preparing not only for the defense side, but you're also preparing for the offensive side,
Sure.
correct?
Sure.
So you have to look at both things, and it's not just like, you know what, I'm just who I am, and I'm just going to go in there and be who I am, when it could be working against you.
Rod, a lot of people think that you need a lot of money to be able to look good, or you look professional.
No.
And you were telling me a story where you would take kids straight out of college and take them to a store where they spent $250 on almost an entire wardrobe.
Correct.
And because of the way that your book can tell you, different scenarios on how to have your closet a certain way where you can mix and match. For even yesterday when we were shopping, you said, oh, Meg, this would be a great blazer because you could wear it like this. You could wear it like this. You went in my closet and you gave me a bunch more outfits than I even imagined that I had, because I said, this dress washes me out. Well, why don't you put that blazer with that? I never thought of that.
Exactly.
And it's just, it may feel like you're spending more money, just like hiring an attorney. In the end, I could have had the whole settlement myself, but you wouldn't have gotten as much of an award. For you might be spending a little bit more money hiring a stylist, but in the end, you get more options, where the average person is just going and buying a bunch, many more items that they might not even use.
Yeah, I go into closets every day, and I see tons of clothes. I mean, closets full of clothes, right? I mean, just and on and on. But guess what? People wear that much.
Yeah, it's so true.
And one of the things that I discovered years and years ago is that one of the most difficult times in people's day is 6 o'clock in the morning when they wake up. And then the name of my second book was What in the World Am I Going to Wear? Because 8 billion people ask that question every day, sometimes twice a day if they're going to an event. And it's what I try to do is I try to take that basic wardrobe that they're working with and just not so much add a whole bunch of stuff, but like what you were just saying is figuring out all the different ways that you could wear that to where it doesn't look the same every time. And when I'm working with a young person like that for a couple $100, whether it's TJ Maxx, Ross, or whatever the store may be, when they show up that first day for work or when they're going to that interview, they look pro. They may not look like they're in a designer garments, but that may not actually be what they want to look like when they're
May
going.
not be necessary either.
No, and but what it does to their psychology, they feel like $1 million.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, it doesn't matter what we spent yesterday on the clothes that we spent, but right now you feel like $1 million. You're like, I don't even want to change out of this after the show. I just want to wear it all day because I feel so good in it, right?
It's so true.
And that's what I really enjoy about what I do. It's how it makes people feel. And when they walk in and they get that compliment, like, wow, you look incredible. Megan just told me that when I was on my way here. She said, you look incredible. Mm-hmm. And I told her she looked incredible. I told Kenny looked incredible. We all look incredible today. So it's a great thing.
And it's great, too, because I had on a blazer yesterday. Mm-hmm. And you said, okay, so for instance, this blazer. And I said to you, because I know you deal with designer, I said, oh, Rod, I got this off Amazon. And you go, look, it looks great on you. The fit looks great where the button is, and you didn't spend a lot. And not that you can't, because yesterday we were looking at some items where you said, some pieces you might want to spend more because you're going to use them more, you're going to wear them more. And I didn't even realize, looking through my closet, which is a mess, you said, Meg, you could get some really nice jackets in here. You could wear all of these tanks and all this by just changing up a few jackets. You could wear the jacket with this or this, already what you have in your closet. Mm-hmm. And I never even thought about that because in my mind, I'm thinking, I need to get 30 more tops. And you're saying, no, you just change these 3 items up with a different jacket or a different shoe. And it just really enlightened me.
Yeah, and I think I think what it does is actually, in the long run, people spend less.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a whole bunch of clothes that they wear the same way every time. Years ago, when I first got into the business, 40 some years ago now, I would meet people, and this is funny. Their assistants would know what day of the week it was because they always wore the same outfit on Tuesday. They wore the same shirt, same tie, same suit, because they would just put it in the back, and then they would have like 5 different outfits.
You just rotate them through.
They just wear them the same way.
Makes it easy.
All the time. But like what I said is that they knew it was Tuesday because they were wearing the Tuesday outfit. You don't have to do that with clothes. There's so many different ways that you can wear them and to communicate something different, whether you're wearing just a black blazer or you're, I changed this up to where I'm wearing a black shirt with this, with no tie. And by the way, it doesn't look like the same outfit.
Hey, real quick, if you're new here, my name is Ken Gerber, and I run Gerber Injury Law here in Phoenix, Arizona. If you've been hurt in an accident, I want you to hear me clearly. The insurance company is not on your side. They have lawyers working for them from day one. You deserve the same. At my firm, we take on car accidents, slip and falls, and all types of personal injury cases across Arizona. And here's what I tell every single client. You pay nothing unless we win. No upfront costs, no risk, just me and my team fighting hard to get you what you're actually owed. If you've been injured, don't wait and don't settle cheap. Give us a call. The consultation is completely free, and I'll personally make sure we take care of you. All right, back to the show.
So is there any tips you can give people? So let's say they want to know, hey, I'm going on a job interview tomorrow. What is the general color? Like you had said to me yesterday, blue is typically business. Blue,
yes. Blues
gray.
and grays.
So would you say it's better for them to stick to those colors if it's an office job? Or versus going for a job at McDonald's? Do they care what somebody comes in and wants?
Well, I will say this, that, if I were a manager of a McDonald's, like he's just said, and somebody came in and they were dressed really nice, not to be like a suit and tie or anything like that. I'm talking about a guy or a gal that comes in a dress. But if I know that they took the time to really make themselves presentable, that's probably the person that I would hire. If they came in a hoodie and didn't even comb their hair or didn't even try, that's communicating a lot to me about that person. And do I want them taking care of my customers?
Because if they're sloppy in their own life, are they going to be sloppy with you at work? And I think a lot of that even goes back to the law. If someone's there for a guilty verdict or, saying I wasn't responsible, but you look like a sloppy person with what you're wearing, then I think psychologically you're like, I don't fully believe them. They look like they're sloppy in their life. They could possibly be lying if you ask me.
If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times to clients. When it comes to winning their cases, so much of it is tied to their credibility. Are they a believable person? Are they a likable person? That's what juries look at. That's what juries want to make a decision about. Do they associate with that person? Do they want to help that person? Is it somebody that they can relate to? Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, exactly. This clothing, this how they take care of themselves, what they do for themselves, communicates so much of that.
You bet. And think about it as a defense. If you're the person that is sitting there that could spend the rest of their life in jail, or they could be free. I mean, you can imagine the anxiety that's going on in them, and so to dress them to where they don't look like that and to where they feel good about themselves, I don't think that's gonna communicate on their face. Sure. And in their body language. I mean, if they look really good, it communicates something different. And it may be exactly what the jury, is looking at to see, think about it. If you were on the jury, you're sitting there going, does this person look guilty? I mean, no matter what's being said in the courtroom, right. But does this person look guilty? And I think that's why, we're talking about the courtroom here, but I think it's that way in life as well. what is it that you want to communicate when you walk into a room?
Well, one of the hot topics that they all talk about and a lot of people complain about is what people wear at the airport.
Oh, yeah.
They go in their pajamas because they're like, well, who cares? Nobody's looking at me and I just want to be comfy. I'm going to, bring a blanket and my pillow. And, I remember back in the day, my day, which I'm aging myself, but that's okay. I remember when I was 8 years old, we lived in Chicago and we were going to Florida to Disney World. And we were going to go on my first plane ride.
Oh, wow.
And my grandmother was I had 2 siblings, in mom, dad. We were going to Florida for the week. And I remember them asking me, well, what do you want to wear on the airplane? And I thought, I want to wear a suit just like my grandmother. And she used to wear the matching bottoms. And I remember they bought me this bright yellow jacket with pants that match, because when you went flying, just like church and different things, you would dress up. You'd wear Sunday's best. And I think what happened is we swayed so far from that, saying, no, we don't want to be pretentious. We want to love people where they're at. We want you to not feel uncomfortable coming to church or going on an airplane. And it became more of just a sales technique of, you know what, we'd rather have the money and you be how you want to be, right? Mm-hmm. How do you feel, though, about that hot topic about how do you be comfortable and still carry yourself well and look well at the airport?
Well, I think that there's so many options out there. I mean, to basically just say that you're giving up, and you're just going to wear the same thing you wore to bed. First of all, and I'm going to be judgmental for a second. That tells me you probably didn't take a shower.
Right.
So, I mean,
it's true.
if that's what it's communicating, and you're coming in your slippers, so you just woke up, you're like, I got to go to the airport, and now you're just going to the airport. It doesn't look like you really tried very much. And when I used to have a store in New York, and I used to go there 1 week a month, I can't tell you how often I flew first class, and it wasn't because I had a first class ticket. It's because I looked like I was in first class. And I know that's probably could be geared as a little pretentious, but I had so many times where I would just go up to the counter. I say, is there any ability to upgrade? And they were like, oh, yes, Mr. Baker, you could upgrade. And, I would presume it was because of the way I dressed.
I think you're right. And I think a lot of people underestimate going back to God wink moments and where God is available. If you're prepared to possibly meet a future employer or an opportunity for yourself, and you're always kind of presenting yourself in the way that you want to be seen versus just always relaxing and saying, well, nothing's going to happen. Preparation meets opportunity equals success.
Absolutely.
And if you're always forward thinking a little bit, and I'm not saying wearing a dress, there's so many, I said to the Skyla and her friend, I have my slinky outfit on. There's this outfit that I got from Amazon that has a slinky top with this slinky sweater and these slinky pants that it looks like I spent $1 million on. And I think the set was like $89 or something,
right.
But it all matches. And I just, took a bath the night before, put my hair in a ponytail, and I look put together without having to put a lot of thought in it.
Yeah, and I think that it's not that hard to do. I have a saying that I've used, and it's actually how I sign every one of my books, and it's, you never know when you're going to meet that one person that could change your life forever. It could be today. When I get on the plane here in the next few hours, I may be sitting with someone that could that could change my life forever. Also, you never know when you're going to meet that one person that you could change their life forever. You may actually be the person that helps change somebody's life. Good. And it may be just in there. They may be just like, I want to be like her. Yeah. I think I've shared this story. When I was a little kid, I had 4 brothers. And my dad was the music director of our church. And so he would be up there leading the songs and the choir and all that. And my dad was a shoe cobbler. And so he always had his apron on and he had glue all over it. And he was a master craftsman. But on Sunday, my dad was GQ.
Yes.
I mean,
remember.
like he was GQ before there was GQ.
I think you showed me a picture. He's super handsome.
Yeah. And I'll never forget, I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and I looked up at him and I said to myself, one day I'm going to dress like that every day.
Love it.
And
here you are.
it made that kind of impact on me. What he was communicating up there was that this was really important to him. And he wanted to look good. He was a good looking guy. He wanted to like show that. And he also was leading a congregation in worship. So I think that was just, and that changed my life forever.
I love that.
Isn't that cool?
It is cool. And I also think a lot of people feel intimidated to dress up because no one is dressing up around them. I had a situation where we were traveling and I was dressing up a little bit more. That's just me,
Yeah.
wear a cute top because I like it for me. And, you have other women that are intimidated by that and they assume you think you're better than other people. But at the end of the day, you just have to be you. But I
Right.
think a lot of times people think, oh, everyone else is wearing pajamas to the airport. Why should I stick out? And I think that's where we maybe need to bring this trend the other way. It's gone way too far.
You know what? It
one
has,
side.
and it has in corporate America too.
Sure.
With
Yeah.
the courtroom when during COVID, everything was done online.
Right.
Court was done online because you couldn't go into the courtroom, and they've had some real issues with that because people are wearing shorts underneath a shirt, and it's not it doesn't communicate what they're looking for it to communicate. But I think that goes into all realms. I mean, corporate America, I get calls from companies that ask me, Rod, we're all coming back to the office, but we don't want to dress up in suits anymore because our clients, our
COVID
customers,
really changed that.
It changed the world in so many different ways, and it changed my business. It changed my industry. But I can't tell you how often I get a phone call from a business leader that says, "What do we do now? We don't want to be too dressy, but we also don't want to look like a yoga studio because everybody's wearing Lululemons but we've got certain groups like the millennials that they're like, well, if I got to dress up, I want a raise."
It's so true.
And but also people haven't had to invest
Right.
in their appearance and in the way they look. I mean, you look at the trends, a beard is very 25 years ago, it wasn't real acceptable.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
sure.
now it is because things are a little more relaxed. And by the way, that's okay. It doesn't mean, that you can't dress up, Megan. I mean, people, when they invite me to different things, they're like, Rod, and it's really casual. And I'm like, that's cool. So you don't have to dress up. And I'm like, I like to dress up.
Yeah.
I didn't have to dress up up today, but I like to.
Even if you're going somewhere casual, what I've kind of garnered from you this week so far is, if I'm wearing a t-shirt, I can make it be a nicer, heavier t-shirt that just shows something different than the t-shirt I would wear if I'm out in the yard.
Correct. It doesn't look like you're wearing an undershirt.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I get it. There are a lot of people that don't know. And again, that's why I encourage people that they may not have ever used a stylist, but there's a lot of power to that because it helps them to communicate exactly what they want to communicate for whatever group and whatever setting that they're going into to show their personality. Like you were saying regarding the t-shirts, you could have a rock and roll t-shirt on, with a peace sign and, Led Zeppelin on it or whatever.
Right.
That's going to communicate something completely different,
Sure.
and especially in a setting like this.
But also I know it's reading the room as well. And so I know that there were situations where it's like, oh, should I wear a suit to a pool party? No, you have to read the room as well.
Right.
And I know that depending on where you live, so I grew up in Chicago. You know, everybody, for every shower, every baby, everything, everybody dresses up. You have catering, you dress up, you put on makeup. I mean, my grandmother was still putting on her lipstick in the hospital a week before she died. You know, like everybody still, they dress up. And so I find a lot of times I don't fit the Southern, you know, Arizona, the way that they are more casual or they don't dress up and it's more laid back. And so I sometimes find it difficult because I think, oh, I want to match my shoes and my shirt and this and put my makeup on. But then people find me to be, I don't know what the word is.
They judge you to be.
Yeah, people judge me to be, I think I'm better than them.
Correct.
Or I'm not relaxed enough. Or I know on that same trip I went to the airport and it was like 5 a.m. and one of the moms was like, oh, thank God I can actually see you as a normal person. Because I had no makeup on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, I'm a normal person with makeup on too.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of intimidation. So Rod, how do people get away from worrying so much about what other people thinking and just dressing how they want to represent themselves?
Well, and you know, I live in Southern California, and Southern California, I think is probably just as relaxed as Arizona to a certain degree. Wouldn't you say?
I would say
you guys
so.
spend a lot of time in California. And, you know, I could walk around all the time, you know, trying to be like everybody else. But to me, I like to be myself, you know, but I do understand, it's like what you just said. You really do have to like look at the groups and settings that you're going to be in. If I'm traveling to New York in the winter, I'm not going to have a Tommy Bahama shirt on and look like I'm getting ready to go down to the beach,
Right.
you know, because by the way, the New Yorkers will look at you in something like that and go, I'm not working with that clown. That guy's a clown.
Right.
You know, or that gal, you know, she's all Lululemoned out in activewear. I'm not working with that person. She doesn't even look like an attorney.
Right.
She doesn't even look like a financial expert.
Right.
Even though they may be, could be Warren Buffett, you know, but he's all wearing gym shorts. You know, it's communicating something different. So I always, when I'm working with somebody as a stylist, I ask them a lot of questions, just like I did you guys, right? When we were talking about where do you want your wardrobe to go, right?
Right.
Because you've got a lot of clothes. The last thing you guys needed are more clothes.
No, I didn't need it. Sorry.
You did.
No,
Yeah,
Rod,
our daughter
I
would
need
disagree
more
too.
clothes.
It's not so much need.
No, I know.
And the people I work with, honestly, are probably more of people that want more so than need. But there are a lot of people out there that need certain clothes, you know, to be able to fit in and to be able to represent themselves well. But it's just putting it together that fits your personality, it fits your body, it fits your lifestyle. Again, if I were in New York, I would probably dress a little bit different than I do in Southern California. And when I had a store in New York, I dressed very New Yorker. You know, I was in the pinstripes, but that was years ago. And even Wall Street itself has eased, you know, their dress code. They're dressing more like you today, Ken.
Yeah.
Where back in the day, if you didn't have a 3-piece suit on as a guy, or even as a woman, if you didn't have like some type of a suit on in New York, they would think you were a cab driver or something, you know, or, you know, they wouldn't take you as the expert. And, you know, we talked about the payment in a courtroom, you know, of what you get. If you're wearing something and let's just say you're charging $750 an hour. I mean, and people are looking at you like, really?
Right.
Because
Are you worth it?
Are you worth it? Are you that much of an expert that you charge $750 an hour or $1,500 an hour? I know people that charge more than that. And I look at them and go, okay, this person must be pretty good. Because honestly, because they look
Right.
They look like they're worth that.
And I have one other question. Sorry, Ken.
Sure, no.
So there's a trend on TikTok
Okay.
that they always talk about old money, new money. So they always kind of pick apart, which I don't think is fair. If you have long nails that have designs, that's trashy new money. But you always want to look like old money. You want to have the trimmed nails a certain way. You want jewelry. It's people that have no money that wear the brands to try and prove that they have money when they don't. So when I pull out my Gucci belt, I'm like, should I not be wearing this? Because I like the way that it looks, but all of these trends tell me that I'm trying to prove something. And so where do you land with that? What do you think about that?
It's a great question, actually. I think that a lot of the old money suppressed a lot of their personality. I think that because they needed to fit into this box of old money, that they couldn't be splashy. They couldn't show. It was almost kind of royalty, you know what I mean? That they didn't want to splash it out there that they had a lot of money, And I think that a lot of their personalities, Jackie O was a person that was one of the first people, even though I don't know that she came from a lot of money, but she dressed in clothes that the Leave It to Beaver days before that, they didn't wear.
And didn't Valentino make her clothes? Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, big time. It's something that, she was willing to express her personality, kind of like Melania. She's expressing her personality as a model, as a beautiful woman, and it suits her very well. Is it the norm? Is it new money? No. But she's expressing her personality. And so I think, unfortunately, that's where judgment goes too far. But I will say that the overall picture is a lot of new money does want to show that. There's a lot of cultures out there that if it doesn't say Gucci on it or one of those brands on it, they don't want it because that's kind of like their identity. That's their badge of success.
But isn't a lot of that have to do with how they wear? If somebody is wearing a name brand, a high fashion style brand, it's about how they're wearing it too, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But when it says Ballman or Ferragamo or something all over the front of it, it's a little hard to get away from that. And typically, old money wouldn't have done that.
Well, and when I see some of those T-shirts, I think that's fake. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I just think, I'm in a thrift store and I'm seeing some name brand thing that it's really not that brand, because you see a lot of copycats with that.
Yeah.
And I think
Especially today.
a lot of times, what do you feel about buying items that aren't that expensive, but then maybe investing in a few expensive pairs of shoes or accessories for people that maybe have some money but don't have the money to just spend $1 million a year?
Yeah,
or
and
$100,000.
I actually find that more today than maybe 20 or 30 years ago. I think going to your new money and years ago, I think a lot of people would, if there was a name brand like Valentino, they would be all Valentino'd out. Like head to toe Valentino or head to toe Gucci, head to toe Dior. And I think that that's not the case so much anymore. There are some people that really are into that. And by the way, but that's part of who they are. They just love that designer, that designer, it just fits them, But I do find that people will spend maybe less on certain pieces, but when it comes to their jewelry is a little bit more exclusive. It might be a little bolder if their personality is a little bolder. Does that make sense?
Definitely.
And the picture of you really from like here up, that's what people see. That's what people see. And I always ask somebody, is this what you want people to remember you by? So like tomorrow you call me and say, hey, Rod, thanks for coming out. It was good to see you. This picture of you is what I'm going to remember. So, but is that the picture you want me to remember?
Yeah, see, we were on the when you first got in town the other day, we were on the news, the AZ Daily Mix.
Yes.
And you brought that up, and I hadn't thought about that before. And I thought that was a phenomenal thought to go through is, if you're out there and, you're talking about what do you want, what kind of impression do you want to make? You don't think about the fact because you're wearing the clothes all day long. The next day you're wearing, your next set of clothes all day long. But there are people that you're just meeting one time briefly for a short period of time. You may be asking them for business, to do business with them, or you're just making an impression. And if it comes back around where they have a phone call with you or they, see you online, that's the image that they have.
That's right.
And that's what sticks in their mind. It's that snapshot in time.
You bet. If you were to call that station, was it CW7 that we went to? If you were to call them and say, I saw that your program the other day with the Gerbers and that Rod Allen Baker guy, that whatever that picture was of us on that show is what they're going to be thinking about. Yeah, that guy was a really sharp dresser, or all three of them were really, really sharp dressers. I want to be able to dress like them. Mm-hmm. Or I want to be able to work with a Gerber Law. A friend of mine just got in an accident, and we need some counsel. They're going to remember that of what you had on. And so, like I said, I always ask people, is that what you want people to remember? So whatever you're wearing every day, make sure that it's communicating who you are.
Yeah, and bring that back to the courtroom for just a minute. Sorry, I'm kind of a one-track mind.
It's all good.
What I do.
It's all good.
But think about it. Judges don't always make the decision right then and there. Juries don't make the decision right then and there.
Right.
They go back and they
really
deliberate. The judge says, I'm going to take it under advisement. And he goes back and he's got 100 other things to do. And then that case comes back around and he's thinking about the case and trying to make his decision. He's going to have that image in mind of you.
Exactly.
How did you look?
How did you look?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
And it's something I hadn't thought of along those lines before.
Yeah. I think it makes us think maybe a little bit harder in the morning. But again, going back to what I said, Ken, is that's one of the most difficult times in people's day is 6 o'clock in the morning when they're getting ready. Right? I mean, we even talked about it. What should we wear today? And, Ken, we were talking about whether or not you wear a jacket today. And you were like, well, you guys are really going to be dressed up. Maybe I'm a little more casual, but how can I kind of match?
Right.
Again, you were actually dressing for the group and for the setting.
Right.
You were actually doing my Extraordinarily You concept. You just didn't even know it.
That's true.
That's true. And so it is powerful, and it's why my third book that I'm just coming out with, and I think we're going to show a QR code where somebody can get a pre-order of it.
Go ahead and hold it up.
And that's Your Clothing Speaks Long Before You Do. And because it does, we just talked about that. And no matter what group you're in, what setting you're in, I've seen so many people over the years that get that next position. Not because of their talent, because there's 40 other people in their firm that has the same talent, same degrees, same everything, but because they look the part of that position. They look like when they're going on their road show, that's a person that's going to he's going to fit in with us better as leaders, more so than this guy. They all have the same degrees, but this guy looks the part. And it could just be the way that you're dressed. So that's why, I never was like put into a situation and trained all these things. These are just things that I discovered of being with people, and getting feedback from that attorney in New York. That was like mind-boggling to me, and I'd never thought of that as a young man, being in business. But I was like, "Holy cow! That right there, I need to remember that."
And what's great about you, Rod, is you've designed clothes for celebrities like Michael Jordan and name some other people.
The Jay Leno's, the Kelsey Grammers,
all of them. But then you've also helped people just straight out of college. So whether you're a billionaire or you're a new person on, somebody that doesn't have a lot of money, you can help them all. But if somebody does have the money and they said, you know what, Rod, I like what you said. are you somebody that comes to our house, goes through our closet? Like, how little or how much can you help me out? You know, let's say there's a professional out there and they want you to design a wardrobe. Do you actually design wardrobes and have your own brand that you can make for them?
You bet. Well, I've had my own bespoke line. I actually started in the bespoke custom side of the business, and I built my business by just knocking doors. We were talking about it, I think yesterday, Ken, where, you know, I used to just go around to office buildings. I'd go to the top of the building and I'd just go to every door, and I'd walk out of there with a stack of cards like this. And I did that because I never knew when I was going to meet my next best friend. You know, I never, and, you know, I'd have to go through, you know, assistants and secretaries and gatekeepers and all of that. But in my mind, I was just like, you know, that's a person that could use what I do. And I do, to answer your question, Megan, I go to see them in their homes. I also work out of South Coast Plaza there in Costa Mesa, California, as a stylist. And that I actually have, you know, a suite there that I take care of people at as well. And so if I don't make it, I shop for it. So and that really helps because, you know, there's some people that have real fit issues. You know, you have fit issues. We all have fit issues. I'm a little guy. You know, if I had all the money in the world, there's not too many stores that I could shop at. And that could be their difficulty. It's not the finances it's the difficulty. It's just that they have a body that doesn't fit into the ready to wear category that everybody else does. Maybe they've got too big of shoulders. Maybe they're just under the height. You know, they make garments for people 5'6", 5'10", 6'2", and if you don't fit in there, or if you're right in the middle, you're either going to wear something that's too long or too short. Sure. You know, and that's why back years ago, before department stores, everything was custom. People went to their tailor to have things made, then they would go to the haberdasher to get things accessorized. That's just how you did it. But then, you know, come 1920s and 30s, all of a sudden they came out with the department stores.
Well, the assembly line started just churning things out, and everybody had the same products on their shelves.
Exactly. But what they did is they categorized it into what are the typical sizes? What are the in the middle, you know, what are those sizes that seem that the majority of people fit into? But if you have any, you know, outside of the sizes that, you know, the regular person fits into, then you're kind of, it's going to make it more difficult. And Megan, we ran into that yesterday a lot.
It is so hard because I'm naturally busty.
Yeah.
And so I may be able to wear a size 6 dress, but then I'm busting out on the top. And then, you know, for Ken, he is 5'7", but he's really mostly torso. So even though still, you know, the jackets and everything fit well up here, they may be long or it sits longer on his body. Jack, our son, is muscular, but he has a tiny waist. And so a lot of times he'll put on a jacket, but it looks like he's swimming in his waist. And yes, you can live like that and it's not a big deal. But the second you do have something custom fit, that's when you get, wow, that really looks good on you. What is it? You just don't even understand the dynamic of why that just looks so good, like it's fitting like a glove. Well, it's because Rod made it fit like a glove.
Exactly. Well, you know, it's crazy because I've had people that I've known for a long time, and, you know, all of a sudden, you know, like they'll come up and we'll do a picture together and they're like, I didn't realize how short you are. I'm like, I know. And you know why? Because if we were to go on this wall and just take a picture of me, you wouldn't know that I'm 5'6".
No, because you're wearing clothes proportionate to your body.
Exactly.
And so many, let's say, short guys or tall guys or women, you look like you fit in your clothes, so you can't really tell. Whereas maybe a short guy, the jacket's down to his knees or something is off, and you just make everything fit proportionally.
Well, that guy, there was a manager of one of the stores that we went to yesterday. What was he, 6'8"?
Yeah.
Right.
That guy was 6'8", but when you looked at him, he didn't look 6'8". I thought he was maybe 6'3" or something like that. But the reason why is because he had on those custom pair of jeans.
Yep.
And they were long. And I knew that there was no way that he could have found those anywhere in the store. Most stores, they go with a 36-inch inseam, and that's as long. But that guy's had like a 40-inch inseam. That guy was tall. And by the way, he was all legs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was all legs. And so there's no way. But he looked proportionately the same. He didn't look like he was, a giant.
Yeah. And what's nice is you help even people like for myself, Megan, you won't want to wear that because that's not looking proportionately well on you. So
Correct.
even with fitting things, Rod, how do I fit things? Well, Megan, you can just use a tank top and then a jacket. And, the way that you help is anything like that in this book or in any of your other books? Or...
You know what? My book series is primarily about the ingredients that I just talked about. It's not a picture book. It's not like, wear this brand or this brand or this brand. It's really about understanding the nuts and bolts of how to dress. I had so many people over the years that kept asking me, Rod, what do I wear? What do I wear? What do I wear? And for me, I would go back to the nuts and bolts. Just like I do with you guys, when we meet, I don't just say, oh, wear this.
Right.
Oh, wear this.
No,
oh,
that
wear
was
this.
one thing that I really appreciated is you were asking questions of us. What is it that you have to go to? How do you feel when you wear certain things?
Yeah.
Learning about us and then also educating us on the backside of it. This is why, this looks good on you.
Right.
And I really appreciate that. And you went through your whole mindset and you've got 5 different points that you really kind of look for to figure out what works with somebody. What are they trying to get?
Right.
Go ahead and tell us about those.
Well,
those 5.
and that's why I decided to start the book series, is because it was harder to explain. It was easier just to go read my book, because this right here is all the answers. If you understand this, you're going to understand in the morning at 6 o'clock when you're standing in front of the same closet you stood in front of yesterday, and the day before, what am I going to wear today? Okay, so then basically what the book says is that, what groups are you going to be hanging out with today? Are you going to be hanging out with the executive board? Are you going to be working with CEOs? Are you going to be working with the construction guys, the engineers? Are you going to be working with your accountant? Are you going to be working with your banker?
Yep.
Are you going to be working with whoever? Are you going to actually be working with the team where you need to roll up the sleeves? You don't want to look like the CEO. Right. You want to look like one of the guys. And I told you the story about Ronald Reagan when he first got into office. He showed up in a brown suit. No president in history had ever worn a brown suit, but he did that on purpose because where the country was at that time was in a very difficult place. We had people in Iran that were captured in almost 400 days in captivity. Right. And he needed to go in there. We had gas lines. We had grocery stores that didn't have food on them. This is America. And so he had to go in there and he had to fix things. And he he wanted to look like he was going in there and rolling up his sleeves and to be a part of the team, not like.
But he still looked professional with the suit on. So there's that balance.
He still looked perfect. He still looked like the president. Yeah. He understood his role.
And he didn't actually literally roll up his sleeves, but it's what he conveyed by the color of the suit.
Correct. And that's why he picked, or the stylist, whoever was working with him at the time, which should have been me, but I was probably, I think I was in high school at that time, but I was close. But he got with someone that helped him to understand and to put him into something that was going to communicate exactly what he wanted, and they did that. And that's why he pulled us out of the messes that we were in at that time. And again, that goes back to working with an expert. We talked about this. If I needed an attorney, I'm going to work with somebody that has experience and that looks the part and is going to be able to represent me, right? I want somebody, and I'm going to make the same judgments
Oh, absolutely.
as a jury or a
absolutely.
judge. Does this person look like he can?
Or referring someone's business, people that work for us, how do they look? And am I going to refer you because I feel like you're going to show up and look responsible or look like you're part of the, what you're representing? Or do I have to worry you're going to look like a slob? I'm not going to recommend your business.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
exactly.
So, yeah.
I mean, you want, when you walk in, you want people to go, they're going to win my case.
Yeah.
Right.
They're going to represent me the right way.
Sure.
And you're going to communicate that right when you walk into the room.
And I'll tell you,
meet someone.
I've been a big proponent of hire the right expert for the job. That goes in cases.
one-liner.
Yeah, no. If I'm I need an accident reconstructionist, I'm getting that expert for our case. But it comes back to what Megan was saying earlier about, people sometimes think, well, hiring an attorney, I don't want them to, have to pay them the percentage of the case. I want all that for myself. And that's a little short-sighted because they're thinking very finite terms. They're thinking my case is only worth this amount. Why do I want to give that portion away to an attorney when, in fact, if you hire the right expert for the job, the case goes from this amount to this amount. Now you pay the attorney this amount. You've got all this other left. And so I'm a big proponent of hire the expert for the job, pay them what they're worth. That goes for attorneys. That goes for realtors.
Rod, because
it goes for
they're going to get the job because they're
Exactly.
stylist correctly, and they're going to get a bigger paying job to pay for that.
I mean, think about like what we accomplished yesterday, even though at the end
It
of
was
the day, thank God we had a steak, that was like, it was so good.
Arrowhead Grill.
I know, right? But we were worn out. But can you imagine doing that for weeks?
No, and I wouldn't have tried on half the stuff. Rod goes, I'm just going to throw this in there. And I'm like, well, and then like this top, and I put it on and I'm like, this is adorable.
Yeah.
Because you don't think for yourself, like, I can't pull that off, or I would never look good in that, or I don't know my colors, or I don't know. And Rod's like, here, slip this on.
Well, and honestly, a week before, we went to the store with Megan and our daughter Skyla because there was some store going out of business and everything was supposed to be on a great sale. And so they said, okay, well, Ken, let's take
Saks
you over.
Fifth Avenue.
Yeah, let's go over to the men's department and take a look if there's anything there for you. And they sat down because they were tired, but by that point, and I'm wandering around the men's department and I'm thinking, I don't even know what to look for. What do I even need? What do I look for? What colors do I don't even know.
You probably didn't buy one thing.
Not a single
thing. And so
thing.
it wasted your time.
Yeah.
And we walked into one store yesterday and we got a half a dozen different tees like what you have on now.
Hour and a half later.
A couple
Harassment by my daughter as we sat on the couch.
That was the worst part. But what we accomplished, and now what your wardrobe is going to be,
Sure.
And what will happen is you're only going to wear that. All of that other stuff in your closet that I need to go through, you'll never wear that again,
Right?
Because now you got new stuff,
Right?
And,
well, and the experience on this side of it was going into that store and you saying, okay, follow me, and you're looking through the racks. And you say, you know what? Do you like this? I like this color for you. Yeah, let's get that. You know what? This is a good style. Let's get that. We're going to try. And you go into the dressing room with 7 different things and you say, try this on. I wouldn't have done that by myself. I would have looked through and said, I don't know what to get.
I don't know.
Maybe I like this one shirt.
But the stuff looked so good. It's like he came out and I'm like, even as a wife, I'm like, woo, you look sexy.
And I told Ken when I said, just watch her reaction.
Oh
Whatever
my gosh.
she does is going to tell you whether or not you want it.
He's highlighting your muscle. You know what I mean? The things that he's highlighting with the outfits he's picking out. I mean, wives, if you have a husband and you're like, he's looking the same, get Rod's book, call Rod up. I mean, and I'm not even joking. It's the difference between, I feel like he looks like a new man with some of these outfits on, and he looks healthier, brighter, his skin because of the color he's wearing. And I know he feels happy in it because he knows I think he looks great. He feels great in it. He feels confident. I mean, nothing's worse than walking around in an outfit that you feel ugly in.
Exactly. And, that's where,
I mean, obviously there are other things that are more awful, but I'm just saying in general,
yes.
getting up in the morning and putting on an outfit that you don't feel good in.
Right. And you know what? What I learned even in my 20s is that what I do for people is really important. Just like you as attorneys, that's something that's so important. It could change their life. And when I get an opportunity, and I get phone calls all the time of people that say, Rod, you've changed my life. And in my little category of clothing, because now all of a sudden they're so much more confident. And part of it is like when you guys give somebody a recommendation as their attorneys, right? Now all of a sudden they feel, oh, this is great. I didn't know that.
Right.
And so now they're feeling better about their case. They're feeling better about this and that. And it's the same thing when I said, oh, no, that's really good on you. And you're like, really? I'm like, yeah, that's a great. And so now when you wear it, you're going to be like, well, Rod said,
No.
Yeah. And by
No
the way,
doubt.
that's why, I promote so much of this. I'll just share this because this is really cool. For about the last 10 years, I've put in my social media and things like that, ask Rod, ask Rod, ask Rod. Well, my third book here that I dedicated to two different people, and that was Ralph Lauren, who's kind of my distant mentor. I've never met him. It's somebody that I'd like to meet one day. But now he has this ad that's out that says, ask Ralph. And I was like, yeah.
He's been watching you, Rod.
I know. I doubt it.
Maybe he wants to meet you.
I don't know. But, it's something that is really cool to see how it can literally change someone's confidence. It can change their optimism. It can change it can actually like free their personality. A perfect example is what you just said about, when you walk in and whether you look old money or new money, your personality is such a huge part of who you are. Megan, your personality is huge.
Yeah. If I put on something boring, I'm like, bleh.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, your whole day is blue,
Yeah.
So, for me, I dress for me. But I also keep in mind all of the other components that I mentioned in my book. What you're passionate about is something. If you're a car person, or you're a model, your whole life there's something about your whole life that's modelist. Melania is actually a perfect example. She's an ex-model, right? And whenever she shows up, she looks like a model.
Yeah.
It's part of who she is.
Yeah, you take it with you wherever you go.
It's part of who you are. Mm-hmm. If you're a drag racer, and you're in that auto world of drag racing, your whole life is part of that, right?
Well, your whole wardrobe almost revolves around that. For me, being a professional and being a business owner, I have to have casual business appropriate attire. And so a lot of my clothes end up being on the more professional end because I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this casual thing today, but then I have to pop over here for a meeting or I have to pop over here. And so my casual things end up being kind of like universal where I can like go in a meeting because I have a blazer on, but with jeans. And then I can go and relax and take Skylar to lunch or something like that where they have to be, what is it, universal, the word?
Yeah, well, it works.
What's the word am I looking for? I don't know. Perimenopause, I always blame it. But it has to be able to go into different situations.
Yeah, and then obviously your personality. And I actually, in my second chapter, I go into a lot of in-depth part about your personality. And our personality types are very complicated. You've got, I kind of went off of a concept that's a clinical concept of the 4 different personality quadrants. You've got the driver, the optimist, the analytical, the giver type of personalities. And we all fit into them on a primary basis and then on a secondary basis. And I'll tell you, it makes things complicated. I have people that, you know, they're trying to make a decision on clothes, but they're so much about facts. They don't care about the color. They care about how many times is this going to wear?
Sure.
What's this fabric? They want to know all the details, and it makes you have to really know what you're doing. Where some people, it's just like color. They're like, well, is that the right red for me? Okay, great. And they've made a decision. You know, there's other people that make decisions based on one thing, and that's results. It's like yesterday we had some alterations, right? If you were that type of doer personality, you would have been more about when you were going to get those alterations than even the clothes themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
What color you got or what you got.
Right.
It's like, I need those by Tuesday.
Right.
Because that's all you care about.
We've already picked it. I want it. I need it now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, so that personality part is so complicated, and that's why I spent so much time on it. One of the things that my first book, which is called Extraordinarily You, From the Inside Out. And the reason I named that is because that's really what I do, is I go inside and I look to see what that person's all about. And then I just change places. So yesterday, when I was shopping for you, I was you. I changed places. Now I'm Megan. I have Megan's personality. I have Megan's passions. I have Megan's
not as much hair.
Life, right? Exactly. I have all now knowing what I know about all the brands that are out there.
I love it.
And fabric and all of that. What would I wear?
You picked it great too.
And I did the exact same thing for Ken. Is I was you, and I was hanging out with Megan. I have your kids. I have your house. I have your dogs, the big ones that want to eat me when I go there. I was you. And so if I were you and I had this podcast, I had your life, I had your money, I had your setting, I lived in Arizona, how would I dress?
Yeah.
Your body, your personality, how would I dress? And that's really what I do. And it's a fun thing because I do get to live vicariously. I had this one billionaire client one time. He goes, Rod, you just kind of live vicariously through me, don't you? And I'm like, yeah, I do.
Now, the big question is, Ken, does it matter? Do you think you're going to get a ticket whether you're wearing something revealing as a girl or not? Does it matter when you get pulled over what you're wearing?
I mean, it depends on the cop that you get, honestly. I don't know that you can narrow that down to what you wear. But if you present yourself well, and it's a police officer that is really marginal on what he's going to do, hasn't made his full decision, and he comes up to the side of the vehicle, and you're polite, you're well spoken, maybe you look nice, not overly revealing, and you give him respect for his position, he may say, you know what, I'll just let you off with a warning. That could work. So you can't discount it. You can't say that it has an absolute effect, but you can't say that it has no effect.
Well, we know Rod's always going to be dressed professionally.
I've only been let off of one ticket.
Oh,
and it was I was on the toll road there in Orange County, and I was late getting out of one appointment to another appointment. I had to be there at 2, and so I got on the toll road, and there was this little group of about 6 cars, and I just flew past them, and I'm going along trying to make it to this appointment. And all of a sudden, there's lights behind me. And I was like, where'd that guy come from? Right? He pulls me over, and he comes up to my window, and he's laughing. And he goes, I've been a cop for 25 years. And he says, I've never had anybody that passed me. But it's like what you just said, Ken. He had a really good personality. And I was like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, officer. I said, I was late and I was focused, and I was just trying to get there. And the great part about the toll road is you can fly. He goes, could you keep it down just a little bit? And he's still chuckling to himself because he's like, I can't believe, because there was these like 6 cars that were just following him. You know how
He
they
was
do?
in that group. That's why they were
He
going
was in
so
that
slow.
group. I know,
No,
right?
without a
It's like
doubt.
whenever I run across people that are going slower than the speed of traffic,
Right.
I always know that there's got to be a cop around
You
somewhere.
look for the police officer, absolutely.
But so you're right. It does have to do with the police officer and your politeness. If I had an attitude,
yeah,
you know, he probably put me away.
yeah.
Well, I love it, and we appreciate you being here. And I think we're going to wrap it up here. Ken, are you the best lawyer in town? You just made a post a little bit ago talking about big isn't always better.
No, it's really not. You know, people get lost in all of the advertising. There's so much lawyer advertising, and some of those are really big firms or advertising about how big they are. And the question that I want to ask people is, when you're thinking about hiring them, do you really think you're getting the guy that's on the billboard? You're not. Most likely you're getting somebody fresh out of law school that's never even seen the inside of a courtroom. And so it's really the opposite.
But they get you if they see you on a billboard.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to get the person that you're hiring.
And you get Rod if you see Rod on a
That's
billboard.
right.
Rod, tell people how they can look you up, how they can follow you on social media, and get in touch if they actually want to
through
use
social
your services.
Through social media, I'm at Rod_Allen, ALAN _Baker. That's my primary. You can reach me, whether it's Orange County. I take care of people all over the country and all over the world, where depending on what services they're looking for, I travel a lot to be able to take care of people in their convenience of their homes. Like you guys, you know, seeing their closets and seeing what they wear and what they have and what they don't have and what they should have. It always helps. But you can always reach me by phone at 949-289-4845. My email is rod@rod-allen.com. And, you know, and maybe somewhere along the lines we'll show a QR code that if this book will be officially for sale within the next couple weeks. Your clothing speaks long before you do. And I would love for you to have it. And if it helps you, without me, great. If you need me, great.
Awesome.
Sounds great.
We're almost at the end of the month. Well, let's see. Saturday's your birthday.
Right?
Yeah.
Woo! 56 years young. You look great, Ken.
Thanks.
But that also rings in the end of the month for the
defensive driving class.
Yes, defensive driving class.
Through our partnership with Driving MBA. They're based out of Scottsdale and Glendale. Go ahead and tell them how they can.
So make sure you go onto our website, gerberinjurylaw.com, and there is a prompt that you can click on and fill in why you feel you deserve to get our scholarship.
It's a great thing that you're doing with that, Meg. Our job is not just to hold people accountable, but we really want to make the world a safer place, and that's one way, and that's where it starts with teen drivers, new drivers, get them to be safe on the road.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for joining us. If you need any help with an injury, you can find us at GerberInjuryLaw.com. We'll see you next time.